So if you know about the 7 elements of art, the question is, how do you use the elements of art? So that's what the principles of art are, the principles of art. There's a saying in art, you got to learn the rules and then break the rules. So you got to learn what these principles of art are now, and then explore away from the principles in the future when you become more artistic. So learn the rules, use the rules, and then break the rules later on. Okay? Let's take a look at this first principle of art. So take a look at this image, these images here. What are the elements of art that are being used, and how are they being used? All right, let's take a look at this first one here. So we have symmetrical balance, right? In this case, we have symmetrical balance across this line. Exactly the same from one side to the other. Here we have radial balance. So radial balance, circular, that's what radial means, circular balance going outward away from the center. We'll be doing a mandala as a senior, and you'll be creating very, very personal artwork using radial balance in your mandala. Okay, look at this image. There's asymmetrical balance. The sides are designed differently, but they do have a sense of balance. And so how do we talk about that? So yeah, this side is not exactly the same as that, but it is balanced, and we'll talk about that in just a sec. So there's something called visual weight. Visual weight. So if you look at this image, a very famous image, right? We can talk about position. So the position of an object in an image will give it weight. So objects further away from the center have more weight. So this has more weight because it's away from the center. Obviously size, right? The bigger the object, the heavier it would feel. Texture. So when you have things that are more complex in texture, like this, it seems heavier. Less complex texture, lighter. And you talk about color too. The colors, darker color values, heavier feel. Lighter colors, right? Quantity. So the more stuff you have, it's heavier. Shapes. If you have really, very, really complex shapes like this, it's heavy versus simpler shapes over here, which are kind of considered light. And then color, the brightness and the saturation of the colors can also affect the visual weight. So let's move on. So let's take a look at this one here. So once again, we have positioning, right? Positioning of objects to give us balance. Size, this is somewhat big, but then we balance it off of this object. The value, so things that are dark here is also balanced by things that are dark here. We have one-to-one quantity. We have balance of circular shapes and lines. Here we have, on this side, we have squares and rectangles. Okay. So visual weight. Famous icons, right? So critique these in your own head. How do they use position, size, texture, value, quantity, shape, and color to create their logos? Right? So take a look at that. Okay, so element of art. The principle of art is using the weight in your design to have equal distribution. So it gives it this balanced feel. This particular slide itself is not very balanced. It's just not designed well, the way I placed the pictures and so on. So in your head, how would you change all this stuff in this slide to make it more balanced? What would you do to make it a more balanced image?